I'm down here at the range today, I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. Oh, that's perfect. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
.58. .614. 646. Time 471. Hello folks, I'm Justin Moon, the president of Kahr Firearms Group, and today I've got the PM40 with TruGlo night sights, and look at that, Magna porting. Look at that porting on that. This is our standard PM40 with the day sights, but now this model with the Magna porting and the TruGlo night sights. What a difference. The .40 caliber PMs have a reputation for being quite a bit of a kicker. They do kick a lot. And so we put the Magna porting on these PM40s, and boy, what a difference does that make. It really makes this PM40 shoot a lot softer, reduces the muzzle flip, the recoil comes straight back into you, and becomes a very manageable pistol.
morning. Welcome to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 1st, 2017, 8th year of Chungi, 6th month, 10th day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Chung Shong Moon, the second king of Chenyugu. Let's first go to Tim, the agent elder, for our AccuWeather forecast. Tim.
Good morning. One of the things that I like about living in northeast Pennsylvania is that you can get up late at night or early in the morning, like I do, and look up in the sky and see the Milky Way. If it's a clear day, yes.
Yeah, you have the incredible star skies.
Yes, yes. And this morning I saw the Milky Way. It's a clear sky up there. And right now at Cheonggyeong it's 59 degrees. We're heading up, it's going to be rather warm, 87 degrees. That's a bit more than 30 on the Celsius scale. And maybe some rain, a thunder shower late in the afternoon. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, somewhere around there, possibly. But otherwise, it's going to be a mostly sunny day. Florida's been hit by the tropical storm Emily. Just wanted to say a few words about that. There's been a lot of rain, but fortunately, it doesn't look like there was much damage, especially it doesn't look like there have been any injuries. And Emily went into a tropical depression Monday as it slogged eastward across the Florida peninsula, spreading drenching rains, causing power outages, and leaving 2 fishermen to be rescued from Tampa Bay. So they were rescued, and now Emily is going out into the Atlantic Ocean today. And maybe the danger of riptides along the Atlantic coast all the way up through the Carolinas. So people who are going to go swimming have to be careful with that. Whereas in Taiwan, over 130 people were injured after a typhoon that went through, and also a tropical storm also went through. So a lot more damage there in Taiwan, but Florida not so much. And people, I guess, there are used to rain. They had a lot of that last day or so.
And today's high will be 87?
Today, the Cheonggyeong is high as 87. Possibility of rain, maybe 5, 6, 7 o'clock, thunderstorm possible.
All right, folks, you heard it first here in the morning on the King's Report. And let's get to our Rima today. We are in Luke chapter 14 and 34. Tasteless salt is worthless. Now this is right after Jesus talking about leaving all to follow Christ. Then to follow him, you must hate your father, your mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, your own life. Otherwise you cannot be his disciple. And whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Then he gives the example of a man who is trying to build a tower, that he would estimate the cost before he built it, or a king before he goes to battle would estimate whether or not he can fight that battle. Then right after that he goes into the salt scripture. And it says 34, salt is good, but if the salt has lost its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the land nor for the dunghill, but men throw it out. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Boom. Jesus said, be salt and light to the world. Salt is not only used for seasoning. Of course, here we're talking about if it's lost its seasoning. But salt also preserves. It's an ancient way of preservation of food. It extracts water and hydration from different meat sources and allows for preservation. Salt seasons, giving the food a palatable flavor, which is digestible. Maybe digestible. More easy to be eaten. Okay? And Jesus here says salt is good. It's a very interesting statement. Salt, of course, was at some point who would trade in salt in terms of money? Was it a type of currency at some point?
I think so, yes.
Salt and
I
spices.
seem to remember that.
But of course, one
In
could
Rome,
just,
actually, and also,
in Rome you could trade. You could just trade. I mean, today you could trade for salt. It is a necessary spice.
in fact, the word salary was derived from the word salt, according to
There you
this.
go. There you go. The word
Salt,
salary.
Yeah, salt was highly valued and its production was legally restricted in ancient times, so it was historically used as a method of trade and currency.
There you go.
The
there
word
you go.
salad also originated from salt and began with the early Romans salting their leafy greens and vegetables.
There
It's
you
from
go. folks.
seasalt.com.
Seasalt.com.
Yep.
And they have the info on the history of salt used as money. So we're not only talking about seasoning, we're not only talking about money, we're also talking about preservation method. Okay. And in a desert area where you don't have obviously cool grounds or obviously ice or something like that, refrigeration and those kind of things are less apt, and so salt becomes a key preservation method, and also seasoning, making things more palatable. Now Jesus says in metaphorical language in relation to how we must follow Christ, about how salt must be salty. The nature of salt is to be salty. And it is through being as it is in its nature that it's able to preserve, season, and also have value to be traded as currency. Now, in the same way, he who follows Christ must be true in his nature and in relating with God. True in his nature in relating with the nature God made us for us to be his relational object partners. And that is why, of course, Jesus is going on this scripture before that. He's talking about how you must empty yourself. How you must seek to be willing to take up your cross and follow and come after me. He said, come after me. All believers are called to exemplify and to accept their nature made in the image of God. Stop snoring, baby. She's sleeping near Hunduke. Their nature as being made in the image of God, that also has a whole different element of not only object partner, but also eventually one that must inherit sovereignty from God. We must be true to that nature. We must be salty. We must, salt is also medicinal, I'm sorry. Salt is also medicinal. If you have a gaping wound, you can pack it with salt so that it stops the wound. Okay? It stings a little bit, but it's also medicinal. Okay? So when we are true to our nature and we stand in our place against Yaltaria, we're salty against the archangel. We can fulfill our role. We can be seasoning used by God to make truth more understandable or digestible. We can be preservation for those who must also receive sovereignty. We can help preserve God's side of sovereignty, right? We can also be medicinal, and God can use us to heal those who have been scarred by the archangel. And we can have value. Something must live up to its nature, must represent its nature for it to have value. If salt is not salty, it is, as the title says, worthless. It will be thrown in the dunghill, not even fit for the land. Not even for the dunghill, I'm sorry. Then we'll throw it out. That is why our first calling is whether we are man or woman. Whether we're male or female. This whole transgender insanity of trying to gender bend and trying to create new humanoids with genetic, engineering, and just, it's ridiculous. Because it's just a rebellion against whether or not you're a man or woman. God makes you a man or woman, and you have to accept that calling. A calling to be a man or a calling to be a woman. That is why, that is the identity or the nature God has given you on your time on earth. And accepting that identity and becoming a man or a woman, accepting that is a part of not only honoring God, but to fulfill our nature. For example, we are making all these wonderful things at the Chanigo Garden now. People can see. Let's cue those pictures. Go to the pictures of the Chanigo Garden up in the front. We have yesterday. We dug a underground fire pit.
I saw that.
This is oh my gosh, this was ridiculous. It took me maybe 3 hours by myself. I was doing it myself. I kind of regret that. I should have maybe told the kids to come down. We only have 2 shovels. But that looks pretty shallow. It's about 6 inches down now. But I had to dig in maybe about 1.5 feet because we had all these stupid stones messing up the whole leveling. Big stones that I had to get out of there. Just screwing up all the leveling. Because as you can see, just to open up that little hole, we had to do I had to do so much digging. Get down about and the tons of roots, big stones like that, and just getting them out. Of course, it's not as bad as Lake Sanctuary. Lake Sanctuary was quite bad in terms of stone, amount of stone. But there you go, and there's the kids helping with the finishing, just putting a little grass around the corners, and flattening it out. Now, in the winter months when the grass is dry, obviously we have to change that. I'm probably going to put a ring of stone around it so that it does not set the thing on fire. I'll probably do that later on. But that is designed as a fire pit. Its nature must be a fire pit. Okay? Now, when we stand in our nature, that can be used in a multifunctional way. Okay? That fire pit is going to have to be used for making fires. That's what it's designed for. That's what it's supposed to be. That's why there's brick inlay, etc. Fireplaces not only bring warmth, they not only bring cooking ability, they also bring a mesmerizing beauty. There's something magical about a fire which draws people to come to it. And of course, it's probably because it helps you thermoregulate and it warms you, etc., all that kind of thing, and usually has food involved in it. But it also removes your negative ions, just like a waterfall, moving water does. Releases negative ions, which then bond with your positive ions, which are created by stress and things as such, and bad air that bind to you. And that's why you feel refreshed when you go near a waterfall. Also the same with fires. It, of course, being the oldest form of TV and communal gazing into the fire. Yeah, it's a primitive TV.
Absolutely is.
It's so enjoyable to watch.
All those dancing flames, yes.
Dancing charcoals and fires
And the sparks.
little kids, making their little, stick figures, and then
Marshmallows.
running them into the fire. Rah! Burning up. At least boys do that. Stick figure men that run into the fire and burn up. But there you go. So, fitting our design that God gave us. A man is to be one day a husband who will, number one, surrender himself to God, be obedient to God. God commands him to love his wife unconditionally, be patient with him. And of course, be as Christ is to the church, which is ready to die, get on the cross for his family and his troop. Also, God says to a man, he who does not provide for his family is worse than an unbeliever. Worse than an unbeliever. Can you believe that? Wow. And this is the Love and Respect program that the Queen is doing with the women, the ladies, is really empowering, because women see getting a job as a option or a luxury, a choice. There it is, privilege, as a privilege. Yeah, that was the word she would use. Women see getting a job as a privilege. So they think their husband is working, and he's privileged because he has an option of working. But that's bull for the man. For the man, it's a duty, it's not a privilege. It's something he has to do because he has to provide for his family, instinctually and also as a Christian. Otherwise, you're worse than an unbeliever who will be sent to hell.
1 Timothy 5:8.
There it is. But women, think about women. Women have options. They have an option of not working and living off the husband's money. The husband doesn't have that option. So from the women's perspective, they think that having a job that husband gets, quote, gets to work is a privilege, and they actually feel jealous of that. Even though they're living comfortably, they, of course, in their mind make themselves insane and crazy in this being envious of the husband and thinking that him working all day is a privilege, and he's doing it because he wants. No, most men want to be lazy and want to lay around. But then they can't provide for you, and they can't be responsible in the eyes of other men who are honorable. And men see getting work or doing work as a duty. You look at the labor statistics. It is men that have to do all the dirty work, garbage cleaning, go in military on the front line and die, trash collecting, sewer cleaning, dirty jobs, you name it, whatever, construction work, all this kind of thing. These are not because these men want to do it and put their body at risk and get all down and dirty and smell like sewage every day. It is a duty that they have to fulfill, at least honorable good men. It's not a privilege for them. It's a duty. And girls always interpret job as a privilege. And so thus they get in this envy and jealousy fit, saying, oh, why are you oppressing me? I can't, why, you know, I don't have a job, so I am less value than you. And I'm not doing something in the eyes of society. See, this is the big lie. In the eyes of society, raising the next generation of human beings is doing nothing. Raising human beings made in the image of God to be honorable, mature people is nothing in the eyes of society. Because it's the most important thing. Because the people who rule society don't want a next generation of honorable people. So of course they're going to demonize and say that's worthless. And say everything else, like going to debt, like holding 3, 4, 5 jobs. Even if you hold a job that pays you a lot, you're told by society to waste it all and never pass it down. And you can't with all the new taxes that they put up with inherited tax, death tax, all this kind of crap. They steal all your money. It's all gone. And during the whole time, they've just tax farm you up the wazoo. You have become a cash crop. Okay. The Rockefellers admittedly pumping money into the women's studies department at major universities in the 1960s to promote, quote, feminism. But really feminism was for making women into sexual whores, destroying their moral values so they have no proper amygdala function, and then teaching them, you don't have, it's not valuable to raise the next generation of human beings. That's not valuable. Even though women are genetically better at raising and nurturing children. That's not saying the father doesn't have a role. Father has to have a critical role, especially if you have boys, to guide them in their life path. I'm talking about nurturing and talking about caretaking. Women are naturally better, just as men are naturally better at physical things that involve lots of testosterone. But no, they were told by the Rockefellers, because the Rockefellers wanted to double their cash crop on tax farming. They were told, and he told that to, who's that guy who got killed? That guy who did the IRS documentary. He's the Hollywood director. What the heck is his name? The guy with the white hair. I see his face. I can't remember his name. He got whacked because he exposed the IRS. And he was told by the Rockefellers that they did that so they can double their cash crop and have women into the marketplace, gets them paying taxes, which then fill their pockets double. Of course, what that does, it screws the next generation. It leaves them parentless. It leaves them without their mom, and they have to grow up under some kind of daycare center with some kind of crazy pedophile, you know, wacko.
Were you referring to Aaron Russo?
Aaron Russo, that's it. Or have to work on a daycare, being under some stranger. They're not all pedophiles, but some stranger, being raised by a stranger. Do you know how terrible that is? To not be able to rely on your mommy. I mean, at least your mom, because your moms are just easier to open up to. Everybody knows that. to have no parent that you can really lean on. So you have this scenario where men cannot be men. Men are made to be ashamed of having a protective instinct, having a survival instinct, wanting to do the God-given commandment, order, not 10 commandments, but order, to biblical order, to provide for their family. That's bad. No, men have to be on welfare. Men have to, be complete losers. They just have to play video games all day and be dishonorable and masturbate to stupid porno. And then then they're good. Then they're good little puppies, good little slaves of the state. Of course, they'll be disregarded and be obsolete, and they'll be thrown out into the trash bin after the state can no longer steal any more money. And of course, women who raise the next generation of sentient beings, the apex of, namely human beings, oh, that's bad, that's worthless, that's the patriarchy, that's a prison. But then you're told, if you're a public school teacher raising children, well, that's great. Give me a break. If you raise your children to be honorable and to understand and not be brainwashed in this groupthink mentality of worshiping the state as a god, well, you're bad. But if you enroll as a teacher in public school and you help in the indoctrination process of young children who have been separated from their parents because now their parents can't make enough money because the tax rates are so high that they're both forced to work, which then leave the children completely vulnerable, then the state takes them into custody, essentially. It's indirect custody of both public schools and daycare centers. And they teach them to worship the state. Oh, but if you do that, you're great. If you're a caretaker there, you're great because we'll call you a teacher. What a screw job. Hey, how about recognizing moms that raise their children as the most important teachers? They are teachers. How come when you teach at public school, then you have value, but if you teach your children at home, you have no value? That's bull-schmita. It's actually quite ridiculous. It's illogical, it's contradictory, it's hypocritical, and it's ridiculous. That's not saying, of course, that fathers don't have a role. Fathers have a really essential role, especially as boys get beyond puberty. They no longer see their mom as their role model. That's obvious, because men need masculine, honorable men to have as role models. And women need a role model in a honorable woman. And so, of course, the sons, anybody who has sons, you'll see, your sons will not respect you in the same way as soon as they get bigger than you. Don't believe me? It happens to everyone. That's why you need an honorable husband, an honorable man whose authority you protect in the home and not sabotage. There's so many immature women who, when they have a conflict with their husband, which they can resolve as an adult, if they're just patient and mature about it, then they go to the kids and say, your daddy, this is the Han Mother. The Han Mother did this. She created this kind of ridiculous culture. She would complain to the kids about father. What does that do? It then creates a secret culture of bitching about father. So she's not protecting his authority. What does that do in the end? Does that harm her or does that help her? It harms you. You have to protect the authority of your husband. If you do that, when you need your husband to step in, for example, if your boys they're not bigger than you and they don't listen to a damn word you say, especially if you nag them, they don't listen to a word you say, they tune out. You have nobody, you have now isolated yourself, you have now sabotaged your own authority, because sometimes you have to rely on your husband. Now he has no authority because their whole life you've been just cursing him, and so many women sabotage themselves this way. That's why God commands you to respect your husband. That means protect his authority in the home, because you may need to rely on it. Let him be a leader. There are times, when you do leadership. I mean, this is both ways, really. But there are times where, for example, the queen will make some very bad decision for the kids. But in front of the children, I will not just say, no, that's not a great, that's a terrible idea. Okay? And then, but I will do it in private. So, okay, well, that idea may lead to this. Then she can think about it a little bit and then rethink that decision. So it's very important for both parents to protect each other's authority. But especially girls, you have to protect your husband's authority. Why? Because you have more of a tendency to want to talk about things when you're stressed out. And you ladies know it's true. You want to talk about stuff when you get stressed. Men are trained to shut up about it and just digest it. You want to talk about it, but if you talk about it to the wrong people who are immature and not yet ready to understand the whole context, like your children, you're screwing yourself. You're screwing yourself, you're screwing your husband, and you're screwing your family, because now they have, trust me, you're going to need his help at some times. Oh, Lord, you're going to need his help. Especially when you can't understand your boys. Oh, man, it's like ridiculous. Like we had it's not an episode. But boys get in the morning, this is going to be a shocking shift, but not really for men. We know about it. Girls just don't know about it. When you're young, and like these teenage boys right here, they're preparing for everything. When these boys get young, they're young, they may wake up with a huge erection.
I think we know that.
Okay, now all men know this. When you're teenage years, you go over a speed bump and your weebie gets hard. All right, let's see if they start laughing. Now they may be laying down, or whatever, they may be sitting in a couch. All of a sudden they get an erection. And then it's not like they're thinking about a naked woman or something like that. They just get an erection. Girls don't understand this.
The blood goes there, yeah.
They don't get it. You could be driving a car, and now it's time to get out. But all of a sudden a teenage boy doesn't want to get out. Why is that? Because he's got a boner. He's got a boner on. It's not like, it's not like he was thinking about something else. He just has a boner on. So he needs a little time to try to get that thing down before he socially embarrasses himself. Right? So, for example, all the kids came down, and they, have to, kiss their daddy, greet me. And one of the kids is just sitting on a couch and not getting up. So I call the boy up, and all the boys, it's funny because as soon as the boy gets up, he's trying to hide it. He's trying to hide, bend down, lean low. So all the boys know exactly what's happening. Right? Even my bigger boys know what's happening. And and so the daddy said, and And so I say, no, don't be shy. Don't worry about that. You got a boner. That's fine. Everybody gets a boner when they're young and they wake up. Right? But then all the girls are like, oh my God, they start laughing. And then I remind them, look, it's not because he's a pervert. Girls who don't get that, they just think when a man has a boner, he's a pervert. That's not true when you're a teenager. Teenagers get it's a physiological reaction of all that blood pumping, the hormones, all that kind of thing. They can't control it at times. It's not even saying, it's not like they're, oh, I have to go kiss daddy, so I'm going to get a It has nothing to do with that. You understand? It's just a physiological reaction of a reality. Now, every guy listening to the Second King right now knows that's the case. Every single guy knows that that is the case. But girls, even married women, I mean, they overly judge their boys. And they think that that's weird. They're laughing out there. They think that that's weird. They think that that's like, oh, that's so sick. Why is he having a boner? Is he like sexually attractive? I want to just, anyways, they go through all these ridiculous thoughts. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing, it's just physiological. That's how God made it. All right? That's normal. God made it so if you go over a speed bump at 14 years old, you get a boy. Even me just talking about this, some young boys are going to get boners. It's not because they're horny or something. They are, I mean, at that age. But it's not because they're getting sexually stimulated. It's just even the thought of that just oh, give me a break. And the girls don't get it. So then they just overly criticize and see as weird a boy's growing and developing body. Okay, it's not weird. When your son hugs you in the morning and he has a erection, it's not because he's sexually stimulated at you. You understand? Do you understand that? It has nothing to do with that. He has a physiological, when he wakes up, he had a physiological reality which he can't control. Okay? Oh Lord, see, this is like a conversation that never happens. And and a lot of dads are not talking openly about this stuff too, which doesn't help. Then they're not allowing their wife to understand this is normal. So then she's going off on a wacky thing, but nasty, what's that? Oh, you're a perv, What the hell is that about? It has nothing to do with that. Anyways, the point is, you're not going to understand your boys. There's going to be so many times where you need your husband's help and you need his authority. You directly benefit from his authority. So you have to protect it. That's why God says, husbands, love your wife, be patient with them. If they want to talk about things, be patient. Talk with them. Love them. Show them love in the way they can feel it. But God also says, for women, love your husband unconditionally. Because there may be times where you feel like you don't want to, you just want to express things, you want to just talk about. There's one girl that the Queen was counseling the other day. And she was saying, oh, I thought I was being honest. Like when I'm upset, I can just shout. And when I'm angry, I just become angry. And when I when I am frustrated, I just act frustrated. And when I'm happy, I act happy. And I thought that was just being honest. No, that's called being a 3-year-old. When a 3-year-old is happy, they act happy. When they are angry, they act angry. When a 3-year-old is frustrated, they act frustrated, you see? Adults don't do that because we're supposed to have control over our emotions. It's not being honest, you're just being immature. And they're conflating immaturity with honesty. No. That's why everybody calls you a baby. Even your girlfriends call you a baby because you have this delusional thinking in your mind. There's no names that they mentioned. Don't worry about it, Queen. She's over there saying, time out. Don't worry about it. It's anonymous. And by the way, many girls go through this. It is important that God's word actually has the wisdom. Husband, love your wife. Wife, respect your husband. When that happens, you have tremendous power. You have a patient husband who will not just condemn his wife if she wants to talk about stuff and he doesn't want to talk about it. Who will be patient with her, loving her as Christ loves the church, be willing to sacrifice, die, all that stuff. There, yes. At the same time, the wife respects the husband, even though she may feel at times that she doesn't want to respect him. But that's just an emotion. That's not an excuse for breaking God's commandment or even harming your husband. It's not an excuse for that. And that synergy creates people that can be satisfied, that can be validated. Men absolutely craving respect. That's what they work hard for, even amongst their peers, compete hard for amongst their peers. It's for respect. Now, all men want to be loved too. It's not saying they don't want to be loved, but they want respect. It is a greater priority than to be loved. Isn't that interesting? Women don't get that. But for women, it's greater to be loved, validated, appreciated, etc., than respect. If you said you have to choose one, love or respect, somebody to love you or somebody just to respect you, women on average will choose love. And this is a study done by Dr. Eggridge. And he found overwhelmingly women will choose love. Overwhelmingly men will choose respect, which is the reason why there's so much misunderstanding and conflict. But when you understand what the other needs, then you can be tremendously victorious. And it's like you do in blessing and marriage, you have to be co-creator with God. You have to be co-creator. You have to accept that's part of the nature of marriage. It's part of the salt. You have to be co-creator with God. You have to contribute in building a powerful marriage, which will empower your children and exude power for goodness. You absolutely have to be co-creators. Like, you can't just expect your spouse to do it. You have to be deeply, intimately involved. Accepting our nature. What an important task if you're salt, to be salty. Such an important thing. We'll take a short break now, and we'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on The King's Report.
down here at the range today, I just learned a new technique from the father of the 44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, August 1st, 2017. I'm your host, Hung Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. Let's go now to Tim for a very important breakdown on North Korea and the situation in East Asia. Tim.
So President Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe talked for an hour yesterday on the phone about North Korea. Both of these are very busy men, and I think it's very unusual for a phone call between heads of state to go for as long as an hour, actually heads of government, but let's see what they talked about. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and American President Donald Trump vowed to take concrete actions to discourage further North Korean belligerence following yet another missile launch last week in an extended phone conversation Monday. Quote, I completely agreed with President Trump that we too have to take further action. We will proceed with concrete actions to heighten the system and capabilities for defense, unquote, Abe told reporters following the conversation Monday, according to Japan's Asahi Shimbun. In a readout of the call, the White House confirmed that President Trump and Prime Minister Abe committed to increasing economic and diplomatic pressure on North Korea and to convince other countries to follow suit, adding that Trump reaffirmed our ironclad commitment to defend Japan and the Republic of Korea from any attack. Quote, Japan and the United States have made efforts to resolve the North Korean issue peacefully, but North Korea has trampled down all those efforts. This is Abe talking. The international community, including China and Russia, must take this undeniable fact seriously and heighten pressure, unquote, Abe affirmed following the call, adding that more joint military exercises between the two countries could also be used as a further response to North Korea. Asahi cites the Japanese government confirming that the two leaders spoke for 52 minutes. I think Abe is especially concerned because this time the the re-entry of the North Korean missile could actually be seen from Hokkaido. And some cameras were able to capture that, and that video was broadcast on NHK television. And this is the government television, government-owned television network that's generally considered by Japanese people to be very authoritative. The conversation followed another test of North Korea's Hwasong-14 missile, believed to be an intercontinental ballistic missile, which, if successfully deployed, could hit the United States. The Trump administration replied quickly with widespread condemnation of North Korea's largest trading partner, China, calling on sanctions to limit North Korea's ability to fund the dangerous missile program. North Korea's state media threatened to deploy nuclear weapons toward major American population centers on a nearly weekly basis. I am very disappointed in China. This is Trump talking now. Our foolish past leaders have allowed them to make hundreds of billions of dollars a year in trade, yet they do nothing for us with North Korea, just talk. President Trump wrote on his Twitter account this weekend, "We will no longer allow this to continue. China could easily solve this problem." China could just shut off the oil pipeline that goes to them from China to North Korea. Of course, Russia also supplies from oil, but China shutting off that pipeline would certainly be a major blow to China. But China is afraid, I think, they seem to be afraid that that will destabilize North Korea and see the government collapse, because China doesn't want that either. United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley rejected the idea of convening the UN Security Council, stating there's no point in having an emergency session if it produces nothing of consequence, and pressuring China, the president of the Security Council, to act. Excuse me here, just a minute. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Something in my nose there. Must be some North Korean dust, I don't know. Japan appears to be following America's lead on the issue, both due to the proximity of the missile launch to Japanese territory and the current state of Japan's defense leadership. On Friday, Japan's Defense Minister Tomomi Inada resigned, along with two other officials, over Japan's role in peacekeeping operations in South Sudan. Japan's Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida has taken the reins of the Defense Ministry temporarily, limiting the functionality of both ministries. In addition to strong support from Japan, the Trump administration is growing closer to South Korea's new administration under President Moon Jae-in, a leftist expected to take a less hardline stance on North Korea than predecessor Park Geun-hye. Moon responded to the latest missile test, however, by reaching out to the United States and ordering more units of the American Terminal High Altitude Area Defense THAAD missile defense system, designed to protect from the North Korean attack. I'm not sure if this is referring to Moon Jae-in giving the okay for the remaining 4 batteries that have already arrived in North Korea to be deployed, in South Korea, I'm sorry, arrived in South Korea to be deployed, because he had put a hold on those pending a environmental impact study, or if he's ordering more beyond those 4, and 2 have already been installed. As a candidate, Moon had expressed reservations about the THAAD system and ordered a halt on receiving more units. And that's because China has objected to them, and Moon Jae-in was wanting to establish better relations with China, or at least not hurt China, because now China is South Korea's biggest trading partner, and it looks very much like China is going to be swallowing up South Korea if current trends continue. Full swing discussions with the U.S. will also start soon for the deployment of additional launchers, Moon said this weekend. Seoul confirmed Monday it is seeking a one-on-one meeting between Defense Minister Sung Myung-moo and American Secretary of Defense James Mattis. The envisioned meeting is likely to focus on curbing North Korea's nuclear and missile threats and issues between the two allies, including a revision of a ballistic missile guideline and a U.S. missile defense system. Revision of a ballistic missile guideline means that South Korea wants to have more powerful missiles, and the U.S. has been limiting those in terms of the range, especially, and South Korea has always been pushing the U.S. to allow it to have longer range missiles. The South Korean Defense Ministry announced Monday that they expect North Korea to conduct more such missile tests. There is a possibility that North Korea is likely to test its nuclear warhead and missile capabilities through a nuclear test with more explosive power, a ministry official suggested in a report to the National Assembly. Of course, what that's referring to is the possibility of North Korea conducting a 6th nuclear test That's kind of a, I don't know if the term red line is really appropriate, but that would be a major, thing if North Korea goes ahead with a sixth nuclear test. And it's possible even that could be the trigger, that could be the red line, that could be the trigger for some kind of a military action, major military action against North Korea by the United States or other countries. You know, I've always been saying it's got to be China. It's got to be China that that strikes North Korea. Because China has a mutual defense treaty. Mutual, I think they don't call it a mutual defense. It's something like mutual cooperation or friendship or something like that. Treaty with North Korea. So if the U.S. attacks North Korea, there's a possibility that China will feel obligated to get involved or maybe see it as their chance to strike at the U.S. And that could be World War III, and no one wants that.
That's a bad scenario.
But if China attacks North Korea, I don't see anybody complaining.
They are now positioned, and the Bilderberg Group and the Xi Jinping working with Davos Group, 100% stalling on his promises to Trump in trying to resolve this North Korean conflict. They're doing nothing. Inaction is also action. And now putting us on the precipice of World War III. If America goes in at this point, even, you know, InfoWars, Alex Jones is saying, it looks like the next few months that, you know, we're going to be forced to make some type of attack on North Korea because they just keep continuing. And they're much closer in the technology than we assume. The American, quote, defense experts assumed that they were still years away from developing ICBM capable of hitting New York, you name most of the United States. They've now proven in the last week that they have the capability to at least a missile that can go as far with the trajectory to hit New York. Now the weight of that, depending on the weight of the nuke.
Yeah. So Chicago is definitely in range. LA is definitely in range. Denver definitely in range. Boston and New York, on the experts are saying on the edge. So it will depend on the payload and stuff like that.
Do you see how much of a change that is in the last week? It's a massive change.
Yes.
And now the administration, of course, is more and more being pushed on the forefront and is now on the spotlight, on the spot of what it will do with North Korea because it is a rising menace that is overtaking. But this is a big story. And this, Alex Jones had a broadcast about this, but he was talking about who is the one that gave them the nuclear technology?
China.
It was not only China, it was the Clintons.
Yeah.
And the Clintons were colluding with China to give it to China, and then by means
Clintons gave them $1.3 billion.
The Clintons in their administration were giving the technology and the weapons to North Korea, essentially. I mean, it's ridiculous. Basically, it's our American federal bureaucracy and the deep state that gave them the damn missile. I mean, give me a break. I mean, it's ridiculous. They gave it to China. Ridiculous. I mean, this is just so absurd. I don't want to shout about it today either. I don't want to shout. It's so ridiculous. I mean, we've given them the nuclear weapons, which now in 2017, August 1st, we are literally talking about nuclear bombs dropping on New York City, and they are definitely within range of at least Chicago. I mean, that is ridiculous.
And the result of all the sanctions is that North Korea's economy last year grew at the fastest pace in 17 years. I mean, where's that?
That's a very important point.
I mean, what's up with that?
That's a very important point. Because the reality of the matter is that shows the internal collapse of the Kim Jong-un government. The internal legitimacy is collapsing. And of course, this is given by testimony of people who actually flee North Korea. I mean, I showed them during service. There are people who flee from North Korea, and they say, everybody knows. Everybody's watching South Korean dramas under their blankets in their TVs. Everybody's watching the internet, broadcasts of different countries. Everybody knows they live impoverished under this illegitimate dynasty. Everybody knows it. And everybody else, because the government welfare program doesn't provide any more money because there's no more people who produce in North Korea to steal from, taxation from, they know that they're not getting those food stamps basically from the government anymore. So now people are actually trading underground between themselves, using different things as currency, using different items as currency, and trading amongst themselves, which then is giving them a taste of freedom and taste of free market, even though it's under the hand of an authoritarian tyrant. And of course, at the same time, you have holdovers from the previous administration who hate Kim Jong-un because, of course, he purged and murdered many of them. But he still has people who are connected to a lot of those people that he murdered, including his uncle, who still want him dead. You have also a growing rise of angst within the community, within the North Korean population that hates the government. They don't like the government, but they can't talk about it. But internally, they don't like the government. So it's creating instability, which is the reason why you see Kim Jong-un clamping down harder, doing more in-your-face military parades, doing more and more nuclear testing, pushing the country to the inevitable course of action or inevitable course of war. And this dictators always use when they are falling apart internally. Always seek to find the external enemy. China is the same way too. With its many, many factions within China, China not being able to hold itself together unless it performs conquest. Kuk Jung mentioned that is historically the case as well, which is true. But this, on top of that, at the same time, you have South Korea, which is becoming commie because they want the wealth of China, or the perceived wealth of China, which is not really wealth because it's still propped up wealth. Because, for example, they don't have to deal with the international sanctions. They don't have to deal with the UN anti-child labor laws. They don't pay attention to any of that. They get off the hook. They're able to harvest their own energy. They're able to do whatever they want. They have people dying on the street in China because they're so impoverished. The image, propaganda of China being so cohesive and so unified and so successful is bull crap. There's so much angst in China. Unbelievable angst. And it's fracturing from within, just like North Korea is fracturing from within, which always puts these tyrants to war. On top of that, you put the fact that now South Korea is under a communist president who literally then now you have the young people who have been brainwashed by Marxist professors trained in the West at the top universities now in Korea, telling them that communism, Marxism is the way, and always starts with a free lunch. Always starts with free lunch. Always starts with free lunch. Children's free lunch. Then it goes on to more and more government stealing from the taxpayer. But always starts with the children. They always use the children as a tool, a political tool, to get the welfare going. Welfare just means government stealing. That's all it means. It doesn't mean helping the poor. All it means is politicians get to steal more money from you. And you have that scenario now where Korea and all its young millennials are not leaning towards sovereignty. They're now leaning towards communism. They want to be part of China. They literally are so brain dead there that they feel that being a vassal state of China would be better than being under America. This is how ridiculous they are. They've been totally brainwashed by the elites in Korea who were brainwashed when they came to America, learning globalism and international one world government in the university that they paid $200,000 to get into. And now those elites have taken over, just like they did in America, have taken over the different universities, schools, public office seats, all those kind of things, especially in Korea now with the total commie Moon Jae-in. Just groveling at Xi Jinping's toes. just groveling to China, Red China, saying, yes, yes, you are the lion of the East. Even not verbally, but by the way he's deciding things in his administration. East Asia is plummeting to war. And as they do more nuclear tests, more nuclear tests, America is now on the precipice of having to decide. The Trump administration is now on the precipice of having to decide. And of course, they're going to blame it on Trump when it was really Clinton and the deep state that was arming China and by extension North Korea, giving them the nuclear technology. This is ridiculous. Of course, they're going to blame Trump about it. And if we have World War III and we have to go to war with Kim Jong-un and South Korea Peninsula, and we have millions of casualties because they're only a couple miles away from the center of South Korea, which is Seoul, which houses, how many people live in Seoul? The surrounding area,
Well, surrounding area,
20 million people.
20 million. And surrounding area, yes.
I mean, think about the casualties. But everybody said we were crazy when we said the Han Mother's curse will bring destruction, death, and war. Everybody said we're crazy. No, we were just stating what Father prophesied if the people betray him. Pulbada, what does that mean? Fire ocean, an ocean of fire. Father prophesied. If they betray him. If the Han Mother betrays him. If South Korea betrays him. An ocean of fire will come upon them. He said up to 50% of their people would perish. Japan would fall into the ocean. At least a part of it. These were outrageous prophecies when he was alive. And of course, the arrogance of the Han Mother, stating with such surety when I told her that she's going to reap judgment, not only about herself, but on a nation. She laughed at me as if she was just in this surety, saying, the true mother resides in Korea. How dare you think that anything could ever happen to Korea? The true mother is here. Now you see what's happening. Where's her surety now? After Korea has imploded, now is a communist state, or becoming one. And now they're on the precipice of the 6th nuclear test, which is on the precipice of an attack and war. Imminent danger. Oh, her surety. Her claims of her being able to protect the nation are completely fraudulent. And it's not like it's rocket science. I mean, she sold out about it. She sold out with dishonor, and then she sold out leaning up to the globalists, liberal, progressive crowd, leaving any real Christian roots, leaving biblical scripture, leaving Bible-centered theology, leaving all that, cozying up to the most radical, authoritarian, centralized world government folks in the world. It's not like it's even surprising. That path always leads to destruction. Argentina, Venezuela, all those nations used to be prosperous. They used to have the per capita income was equivalent to the United States. Now they're imploded, backward, third world states because why? They started with free lunches. Politicians use free lunches to get votes. Then they want free this, free healthcare, free education, free money, free food, free everything. Which just gives the politicians the justification to legally steal from people and use government force if you don't and kill you if you don't. Give it up. They steal, and the wealth of that country just plummets. The politicians get rich. Not forever though, but they're temporary thinkers. They're pleasure seekers. They're R-types who don't care if the whole society collapses as long as they can enjoy temporary pleasure, because at that point they'll just run away from the country anyway. They'll just flee to a different country to try to parasitically desiccate another country. They are the locusts. They are the locust class. The liberal lunatics are the locusts. They come in, steal, desiccate an area, then they move on and desiccate another area. So why would Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton be giving nuclear weapons to North Korea? Because there's a kinship. There is a soul bound. They're soul bound. They are of the same spirit, ethos, civilization, culture, spirit, world, you name it. They are of the same makeup, that of Satan. So they want to help their other elitist buddies and their other elitist authoritarians who want to centralize power, and they get together in these clubs drinking coffee together, giggling about, oh yes, you do need that technology. Yes, you do need it. I understand, yes. Hoo. Yes, we'll make a deal to get that thing to you, yes, so you can have a little bit more security in your administration. Wink, wink. This is how the elites are. I mean, isn't it ridiculous that no mainstream media is exposing the fact that Hillary and Rodham Clinton and Bill Clinton, the known pedophile rapist, was arming North Korea with nukes, nuclear technology? This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. But they, of course, they want to blame it on Trump. Even though this is the problem they created. It's like owning a house. You destroy that house, set it on fire, you dilapidate it so terribly, and then the new homeowner that comes in to take care of it, you say, well, it's all his fault that it's dilapidated, it's rotting from the ceiling down. It's got fungus everywhere. It's his fault. Look. The house is falling down. It's clearly the new homeowner's fault. Give me a break. Ridiculous. This is the insanity of the times that we live in, folks. If you are not getting riled up, you are not alive. This is so intense. Do you understand? This is not a game. We have potential World War III on the line. This is not a game. This is not fun. This is not entertainment. I know it's sometimes fun to see me rant and rave, but it's not a game. This is ridiculous reality. We may be on the precipice of World War III. Of course, we've been warned about that for the last 4 years. We told you about the collapse of Korea 3 years ago before it even happened. We told you that there would be judgment on Asia 4 years ago before it even happened. We told you there's going to be a separation of good and evil 4 years before it even happened. We told you that Trump would be president months before he was actually elected. We told you that Pennsylvania would be the central location, and northern Pennsylvania is the center of the world, which will elect the world president. Before it even happened. And we're not bragging about these things. It's just Father already proclaimed them. He already prophesied them. He already told us what would happen. It's not like we're some brilliant geniuses. Father already said what would happen. This is not a joke. The time we live in, this is not a joke. We have peace here in the U.S. It's so nice. This could all change precipitously. China is colluding with the Davos Group. We know that. They are the head spokes. They are the poster boys for the Davos Group and the Bilderberg Group. The Davos Group is basically the public appearance show of the Bilderberg Group, which is a secretive meeting. The Davos Group meeting simply being a more public face of that more secretive Bilderberg Group meeting. And you have Xi Jinping at that Davos group pledging his allegiance to the Davos Bilderberg Group, pledging that he will show the example of communism, pledging to show that he will be the new model and he will be the poster boy for the Davos Group and world government, authoritarian world government. And then you have him promising Trump with his 2 butt cheeks that he's going to solve the North Korean problem, he's going to help. And he does nothing. Of course he does nothing. He's already a devil who's signed his soul away. Of course he's been given the order by the Rothschilds and Soros and the Bilderberg Group that they can't control the populations anymore. They can't control the people from wanting sovereignty. They can't control the people from getting alternative media. They can't control, even though they're trying with censorship and all those kind of things, they cannot control it. So because more and more countries are talking about sovereignty, more and more countries are saying we want independence, more and more countries say we want to have self-determination, we want to decide what our future will be, and not some global unelected bureaucrats in the EU and the UN telling us what our destiny will be. We don't want to live in predetermination. We don't want to live in predetermined future circumstances. We want to define that for ourselves as sovereign nations. They can't control that anymore. The panic buttons are being hit now. And to reset all that insanity, which they can't control with censorship, which they can't control by political means, which they can't control by subterfuge and bought off central media, which they can't control by propaganda anymore, because alternative news and different points of view and homeschooling, etc., you name it. Well, they want to reset all that, get rid of all the patriot movement, have a clear and justifiable reason, and that is war. Because then you have a reason, a justifiable reason for the central government trying to, quote, protect everyone, to kill off their opponents. And to arrest anybody that's against the state, because then they're against the war, and they're unpatriotic, and they must be eradicated. This is serious, folks. Serious times. People just they're so asleep. They don't understand how serious a time we are in. They don't realize that if we're forced to launch attacks on North Korea, millions in the South will die. China is going to get involved. North Korea, as the egg that drops and shatters and blows up. This is not a joke, folks. This situation is spiraling out of control. This is the time to be awake and alive. If you open your mouth now, if you reveal the enemy plans now, if you speak about it even though you're mocked, persecuted, and laughed at now, we may be able to stop it before they do it, because you're exposing them before they're trying to set the freaking dynamite line on with their stupid lighter. You're exposing them, saying, look, they're trying to light the dynamite. So that's why it's important that every man, woman, and child who has access to the internet, etc., is opening their mouth, talking about it, trying to reach as many people as you can. At least exercising your spiritual sovereignty and releasing an opinion into the atmosphere, at least. The more this gets exposed, or even just forwarding some of the clips of the King's Report, or of InfoWars, or Breitbart, even just doing the act of pressing a button and forwarding stuff, that helps reach more people who didn't know about it. That helps force it into the mainstream. That helps force it into political debate, public debate. That helps force it out in the open, so they can't hide behind it and do subterfuge and pretend like they never knew about it when they're the ones who organize it, and then say, oh, we want to swoop in as a saviors. It's called foiling the enemy's plan. And it's not like we have a lot more time. They're already showing they have ICBMs that can reach Chicago, that were given to them by Hillary Rodham Clinton and Bill Clinton. This is ridiculous. Prayers are essential. Action is critical. Standing on truth. Accepting your nature as an individual who matters and who has a destiny and who God has a will for and has a meaning and purpose here for. Accepting that and stepping into it and opening your mouth or forwarding things that you know are speaking out against this is the only way before it gets hot. These are perilous times that we are living in. Let's take a short break. We'll be back after the short break. There's incredible and more crazy news going on. We'll cover those things and more after this break.
Jesus forever, you've forgiven my failures. You are my hope. You never let go. Jesus forever, you've forgiven my failures. You are my hope. You never let go.
I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian married scum who run giant death factories, keeping babies alive, selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They've got green looking skin, and they run around screaming, we love them, we want any babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy weird sick stuff, man.
We're losing our humanity to calculators, smartphones, TVs. Do not find fulfillment in the brainwashing, in the conditioning. The globalists are anti-family, anti-human. We're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. That's why they want to try to keep us out of it. Horseflies and all.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murdering scum. One giant death factories keeping babies alive and selling them bottle water. But more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under the pile. They have green looking skin, and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we want to eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creeping with sick stuff, man. She swoops and singing with the creepy widow woman whose mother wears a hood of her head. That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just gets close to the evil, then I feel it go. Ow, ow, ow. With such self-centered crowd, we don't even notice hell itself raising up against us. Millions of foreign people are very much tight, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mouth. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims.
Murdering some, there are giant death factories keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin.
Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 1st, 2017. I'm your host, Hung Sean Moon, second King of Cheniguk. And shocking news, Scaramucci, President Trump's communication director, is now fired. Only 10 days as the communication director, he is now out of the White House. This doesn't look good, Tim. Let's hear Tim's report about Scaramucci and his firing. Tim.
Okay, Drudge is leaking to the Wall Street Journal report on this, and Wall Street Journal interviewed Newt Gingrich about this, and I think Gingrich has some good insight. We'll get to that in a couple of paragraphs. President Donald Trump ousted his communications director after only 10 days and introduced his new chief of staff, a former Marine Corps general, who has the task of imposing more discipline in the West Wing, following one of the most turbulent weeks of the administration. Anthony Scaramucci was removed from communications director post on Monday, becoming the 7th major administration official to leave in Trump's first 6 months. Mr. Scaramucci was ousted at the urging of the new chief of staff, retired General John Kelly, in one of his first official acts in the job, two administration officials said. Mr. Kelly previously ran the Homeland Security Department. Mr. Kelly urged Mr. Scaramucci to resign during a one-on-one meeting in his new office shortly after being sworn in at a Monday morning White House ceremony, the official said. Mr. Scaramucci's removal was designed to better organize a White House that has been riven by competing factions, they said. And here's Gingrich now. The president is tired of the chaos and the confusion in the West Wing, said Newt Gingrich, the former House Speaker who advises the president. He said the president has been ruminating about the chief of staff change for weeks and is prepared to empower Mr. Kelly in a way that his predecessor, Reince Priebus, wasn't. Mr. Priebus left the position last week. And here, this is good. Mr. Trump, of course, reserves the right to cause chaos himself, but he likes an orderly system. Mr. Gingrich said, that's how the golf courses work. He thinks the cooks should be cooking, the caddies should be caddying, but that doesn't restrict him. Unquote. And Mr. Trump has told Mr. Kelly that all White House officials, including advisors such as Chief of Strategist Steve Bannon and family members such as son-in-law Jared Kushner, will report directly to the Chief of Staff, said Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders at Monday's news briefing. Yet Mr. Kelly's authority may also face limits. Mr. Trump's communicating over Twitter at times on issues far removed from the White House's top legislative priorities or stated agenda has proven difficult for previous senior staff members to influence or curb. And the White House is populated by two members of the president's family, Mr. Kushner and Mr. Trump's daughter, Ivanka, a White House advisor, which could complicate the hierarchy even if they technically report to the chief of staff, according to past White House veterans. It's easy for a chief of staff to say to Anthony Scaramucci that you're wrong and you're gone, said Ari Fleischer, press secretary under former President George Bush. But it's the president's daughter, and you can say you did it wrong, but you can't say you're gone. After Scaramucci's departure, which followed the resignation of Press Secretary Sean Spicer 10 days ago, the White House on Monday sought to project an air of stability going forward. The president has 100% confidence in all members of his staff, Ms. Sanders said. No White House chaos, Mr. Trump wrote in a tweet Monday morning. The White House declined to comment on a successor for Mr. Scaramucci, and it didn't make Mr. Kelly available for comment. And actually another story in the Daily Caller has its White House correspondent speculating that Kellyanne Conway may be the next communications director. Conway, currently a counselor to the president, served as Trump's campaign manager and was previously a Republican pollster. She currently is a visible face of Trump administration through her frequent appearances on cable news and is often relied on by the White House to deliver its message to the press. So there's speculation that Kellyanne Conway might be the next communications director.
Well, even though the president says that there's no chaos, it looks like a romper room.
So hopefully now John Kelly's going to provide some adult supervision, maybe.
Yes. Now,
Marine Corps supervision.
Now let's look at Roger Stone's breakdown and his opinion. Of course, he's also a political insider. Trump should be getting these people who are in the liberty movement that helped him got elected. I mean, can you imagine if he put as a new Attorney General Ron Paul?
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, think about how incredible that would be. He would get so many former Ron Paul supporters. Of course, he had most of them. But he would just re-energize and get his popularity rating shooting up, skyrocketing up out the roof.
Yeah.
If he had Ron Paul as the Attorney General, oh my gosh, he came out of retirement to be the Attorney General of the President of the United States. Oh my Lord, you know Ron Paul will go after these fools. Holy Shemitah. If he brought in Roger Stone as his chief of staff, that would be tremendous. I mean, he was Nixon's top guy. He's a tremendous political, agent who wreaks havoc upon the New World Order and the progressive liberal lunatics cult. He wreaks havoc on them. Can you imagine if they had Alex Jones as the communications director? I don't think Alex would do it, by the way. I don't think he'd do it. But I think Roger would do the chief of staff job. There is some issue with General Kelly. He is really war prone, and he is very much he's always been supporting the war on drugs, hyping that up, which we of course know is just simply a cover for the CIA peddling the drugs and a way for them to extort, blackmail money in the $200 billion heroin trade market. So we don't want, of course, that doesn't mean drugs are good. They are bad. They are deleterious for your health, etc. But we know that Kelly is a strong proponent, as is A.G. Sessions, of re-energizing this, quote, drug war on drugs, which is only empowering the black ops, CIA, mafia organizations, just getting them more and more money. They're now producing 93% of the poppy seed for the world heroin trade. I mean, they are literally the mafia. It's ridiculous. It seems to be, it's only time will tell how General Kelly will behave and what he will support. Let's hear Roger Stone's view on this.
Whatever trumped up charges he has to manufacture. Even more incredibly, we now know that Priebus forced the appointment of Rosenstein on the recommendation of Congressman Elijah Cummings, certified Trump hater from Baltimore, Maryland. This is how the two-party duopoly works, Rob. This is how they help each other. Now, it is my understanding that Scaramucci is not leaving the administration, but is going to go to the Import-Export Bank to work for the president. And I doubt that he's going to lose the cell phone number or the numbers at the private residence, and suspect even more from Anthony Scaramucci. I don't think he is done by any means. But I would also predict to you that he was taken out by a combination of General Kelly working with Steve Bannon. The bloodletting's not over yet. This is very much like the French Revolution. What do you see who gets their head chopped off next? And this is really, I think, not serving the president well at this point. But as long as Kelly sticks to his knitting and he views himself as an implementer, someone who carries out Donald Trump's orders, I think he's going to do very well. He starts imposing his own opinion, for example, on the war on drugs, which is categorically the direct opposite of what Donald Trump told the voters in the last election. I just use that as an example. The question of medical marijuana in the 29 states that have legalized it, well, then he, too, could be shown the door. The president really continues to stick to his agenda despite all this inside baseball. What I've really found, Rob, is that when I went out on the street this morning in Pasadena, California, the first 10 people I asked about Anthony Scaramucci, they had no idea who that was. When I asked them about Steve Bannon, they never heard of him. When I asked about General Jack Kelly, they thought he was a World War II hero who was long deceased. So while we pour over this stuff, I'm really not sure. In fact, I am sure that the voters don't care. They care about whether the president keeps the faith on trade, on building the wall, on a better immigration system, and revitalizing the economy. And on those questions, Donald Trump's still getting an A+.
He's winning on the economy, Roger. I tell you that. And I think one thing voters really want also is a tax cut. The middle class out there is being taxed to death, and property taxes, sales taxes, everything else. And we want a tax cut from our federal government who loves to waste money. And if he can get that, I think he's assured himself a second term. But right now, he is really dealing with, these people that don't seem to have, that was the one thing about Obama's people, although they weren't being harassed by the press as much. They seem to act a little more professional. And Scaramucci came in, he was supposed to get rid of the leakers, and then they leaked more. So it's like people are just defying the rules just to see how much they can get away with. Can Kelly come in? That'll be the big test for Kelly. Can he come in and stop the leaks? Do you think he can do that?
Well, everybody seems to be out for themselves. I mean, nobody's thinking about the president or the presidency.
Or the country.
About the president's reform agenda to fix what's wrong with the country. Everybody's worried about their own title and their own desk, and their own place in the entourage. It really is incredibly disloyal and disserving the president. Now, look, I've been in politics for 40 years. I've been through 10 presidential campaigns, from Nixon to Reagan to Dole to Trump. And I've never seen anybody disserve the boss like this. The highest honor you can have in my profession is a White House job. And you repay the president by leaking and by saying and giving information to reporters that make the president look bad. It's just very, very hard to understand. I would point out to you, Rob, that virtually no one who was involved in Donald Trump's successful historic campaign is involved in this White House. People like Scotty Nell Hughes or David Urban or Ed Martin, people who did extraordinary things to elect Donald Trump, can't get the time of day from the Trump White House. And that is exceedingly disappointing.
Well, and where do we go from here? If Kelly doesn't work out, who's next in line if he can't stop the White House leaks? What do you will they replace him with somebody else? Will it be Huma Abedin's best friend? Will she come in?
Well, let's hope not. When I reported on InfoWars only last week, General Kelly and Dina Habib Powell were the finalists for Chief of Staff, and I'm certain we broke that news at InfoWars long before anyone had it. Not only that Kelly was on the short list, but that Kelly would be selected. Look, I'm optimistic. General Kelly has a great reputation as an administrator. I do think that he will lay down the law when it comes to leaks, but I think he's about to find out how insidious the leakers are. And the place is still half people with people who put themselves ahead of the president. So this House of Cards version, Trump version of House of Cards is just beginning, and I think you will see more firings in the years ahead.
Well, there was another previous ally who was forced to resign recently under Scaramucci's short term. He was getting rid of some people, but it seems like it's not the top level people; it's the couple people down under them. I don't know if people realize this. When there's a big meeting, there's people on the outside. You look at these testimonies. There's people in the crowd. These are all aides, and they all have information that that they've been privy to in these meetings, and they have their little contacts. And whether they're getting paid or not, I don't know. But that's how the leaks are coming through. It's these low level people that either were Obama fans or Hillary fans or secret Democrats, and they don't really agree with what Trump's going to do. Maybe they want America last. I can't understand this at all. But it's interesting to see how it's all shaping. But what I do like about Trump is when something's not working, he just says, forget about it. Let's move on. That's not part of the whole thing with the transgenders. It wasn't even an argument about whether transgenders should serve. It was who's going to pay for these operations. And they couldn't agree on that in the meetings. So Trump just said, all right, forget about it. They're not going to serve. You guys can't get it straight. And so that part of this no nonsense approach with Trump, I do like. But is it going to come back to haunt him? Or is he going to piss off too many people in that White House where they're just going to continually stab him in the back?
Well, until he surrounds himself with loyalists, and I think, frankly, the people who saw him through the most incredible historic political campaign in history, I think history's going to sadly repeat itself. The great thing about the president is he's not a quitter. See, I don't think he suffers in the slightest from trying to reform health care and failing, because he'll just come back and try again. And if that fails, he'll try again. And if that fails, he'll try again. That's keeping faith with your voters. As long as he keeps fighting, I don't think he ever loses. He only loses if he quits. If he quits fighting for the reforms that he's laid out for the American people. And I can tell you, having known him well for 40 years, that's just not Donald Trump. He's a very stubborn, determined man, and he's going to make America great. It won't matter how many establishment Republicans or liberal Democrats he has to take down to do it. Frankly, if I were him and I wanted to make a statement, I'd go to Alabama right now and endorse the only candidate in the special election in 2 weeks who was for Donald Trump, Dr. Randy Brinson. Luther Strange, the appointed U.S. senator there, is a never-Trumper. He's the candidate of Mitch McConnell. The president could shoot a shot heard around the world by interceding in that Republican primary and electing a Trump Republican. Instead, the White House political operations got the hammer lock on him to endorse the people who despise him, the people who wouldn't support him when he was the nominee of the Republican Party.
Yeah, they put him in a room with 50 people, half of which, more than half probably, don't like him, don't like the way that he subverted the system. He went straight to the people, and they don't like that. So they're going to do anything in their power. They don't even care if they're Republicans. They don't like to see that type of winning happening, and they don't want to see that type of winning spread. They want to say, look, you're going to work with established politicians, Donald Trump. You're not going to work with these other people who didn't pay their dues and kiss enough butt and do whatever else, go to Bohemian Grove and all that. We want you to work with us, and we're really not going to fix Obamacare. We're just going to kind of let it sit, and we're going to have our great health care. I would like to see Donald Trump do this, Roger Stone. I would like to see him write an executive order that says Congress and the Senate, the House and the Senate now have to live under Obamacare. They have to follow its rules. They have to enroll. They have to pay what we're paying. And we'll see that Obamacare get fixed pretty quickly, don't you think?
I do. I think the other thing that has to be done immediately, and this is really up to Jeff Sessions, I read last night the full document released by the FISA court back in November. There is no question whatsoever that Barack Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan and Admiral Rogers and Susan Rice surveilled tens of thousands of Americans for political purposes. They did, using the government, what Nixon's people talked about doing in Watergate and never did. Someone has to go to a federal penitentiary for this. This was willful, this was knowing, this was unconstitutional and illegal. Is Jeff Sessions asleep over there? Is he sleeping? What is he doing over there? Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton stealing hundreds of millions of dollars, trading governmental decisions for million-dollar payoffs. What's Jeff Sessions doing over there at Justice? Is he asleep?
He's a great record,
Would someone
but
please
he's
wake him up
scared of the
and
deep
tell him to
state.
get on the stick? I don't think the president's going to fire Sessions. I think he was trying to wake him up.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sessions was compromised, because it's beyond me that we could sit there and we can find all this evidence and we could dig it up. And we don't even have special prosecution power. We don't even have investigators going out except for the citizens out there doing their work. The Awan brothers. That's enough right there. He should be opening investigation on these three brothers who were bilking the government for millions of dollars. And, now it turns out one of them was at the party, the little bar party that Seth Rich was at the night he was killed. Wow. It's an interesting coincidence.
Yes, and not only that, but we now know that Deborah Wasserman Schultz, when the Capitol Police let it be known that the Awan brothers were under investigation, purposely changed their classification from consultants to employees of the House to guarantee that they could still get into the House of Representatives computers.
Yeah.
Why has she not been indicted? What is wrong with Jeff Sessions? His weird relationship with Dana Rohrabacher, the congressman from California, who is best buddies with Vladimir Putin, that to me is troublesome as well. So I'm not sure. I can't tell what's going on with Sessions. I love him in the Senate, a real leader on the immigration issue, a man who had the courage to support Donald Trump when no other senator was. And then since he got to justice, other than trying to put people in jail for smoking medicinal marijuana, he's done absolutely nothing. Oh, I forgot. Asset forfeiture.
Yeah.
the program Adolf Hitler would be proud of.
Exactly. It's like he's cleaning his desk going, I'm getting ready to be Attorney General, and he's going to do this for a couple years, shuffle his papers around and go, let's go steal everybody's assets out there before they're even convicted of a crime. It's almost... there's this other weird thing going on with the president of Philippines, Duarte, where he's murdered, well, at least his police have murdered lots of people. They haven't been convicted necessarily, but he said he's going to go after drug dealers. And so they're mowing people down in the streets, and people are getting pissed because some of the innocent people are getting caught in the crossfire. And I feel like that's going to be the same thing with the Sessions regime going out. They're just going to it's going to give the police the license to go out and just start confiscating property from people willy-nilly and just really up it up. And I'm not happy with that. And yeah, I was a big fan of Sessions, especially when it comes to immigration. I thought he was going to be great on that. I'd like to see him go after these sanctuary cities. We just had an illegal immigrant deported 20 times, attacked 2 women, raped one of them in Portland, Oregon, which happens to be a sanctuary city. And now they're like, well, maybe we should get rid of this guy. That's the type of stuff we need. And meanwhile, you got former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio found guilty of criminal.
Chiming in on General Kelly and Scaramucci, saying that Scaramucci not necessarily is done with his relationship with the administration, but that he's out as communications director. Roger Stone being one of the top White House informants, and now is part of InfoWars, including Mike Cernovich as well. In other shocking news, we'll cover this right after the break. London Mayor's threat to derail Brexit. Surprise, surprise, Sadiq Khan vows to make staying in Europe a Labour policy so it would trump the referendum result if they win power. So predictable. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Singing your name, God of mercy, sweet love of mine, I have surrendered to your design.
Six 58. $6.14. $6.46. Time 471. Hello folks, I'm Justin Moon, the president of Carr Firearms Group, and today I've got the PM40 with True Glow night sights, and look at that, Magna porting. Look at that porting on that. This is our standard PM40 with the day sights, but now this model with the Magna porting and the True Glow night sights. What a difference. The .40 caliber PMs have a reputation for being quite a bit of a kicker. They do kick a lot. And so we put the Magna porting on these PM40s, and boy, what a difference does that make. It really makes this PM40 shoot a lot softer, reduces the muzzle flip, the recoil comes straight back into you, and becomes a very manageable pistol.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. I'm your host, Hyungni Sean Moon, the second king of Chanyeoguk. And to other news in Europe, the mayor of London has said Brexit could be halted if the Labour Party made staying in the European Union a manifesto policy and won the election. Sadiq Khan, the open Muslim apologist, radical jihadi apologist, always apologizing and defending jihadis that are raping and have pedophile networks in Britain. This guy is ridiculous. He's sick. He's a sick, sick protector of evil. People in London should chase this fool out. He is a pathetic slime bag politician. And even Piers Morgan on his morning show, the super leftist lunatic Piers Morgan, has to challenge him saying, "What are you doing? You have all these people on terror lists, and why aren't you deporting them? And how are they continuing to enact acts of terror on the British population?" Even leftist lunatic leader Piers Morgan has to question him. That's how bad he is. Sadiq Khan said it would be still possible to trump the referendum result by effectively putting it back to the public as a manifesto pledge. The mayor has made the intervention at a time his party is in turmoil over his own position, though he has never wavered on his pro-EU stance. Of course, he's pro-EU because he wants to let Islamic jihadis take over Europe. He's part of the enemy force that through political correctness and guilt-shaming European white people, they forced them to vote for this idiot. He told The Guardian for it to have credibility with the British public, there would have to be a Labour manifesto offer, because the public would say not unreasonably, hold on a second, we voted to leave and now you're sticking two fingers up at us. They're sticking their middle finger up right at you. What could trump the referendum result is us having a manifesto offer saying we would not leave the EU or would have a second referendum, which means endless stalling. The public decided by democratic election that they would leave the EU and stop being slaves of the Soviet Europe Union. And everything in their power they will do, including Theresa May, who was against the Brexit as well, demonizing Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage literally being attacked on the streets of Britain because a normal person in Britain is now a slave. And they don't matter. And the normal person that voted to leave the EU and stop this EU Soviet slavery and this Soviet taxation and the Soviet robbing of the people in London so that the Germans can take the money is, people are fed up with it. In order to do German food stamps and welfare checks, they're taking from different European countries. Don't you understand, Europe, that you're in for a screw job? Don't you understand that? All your money and prosperity that you have and now don't have anymore is being taken, the little remnants that you have are being funneled away to the elites of Europe. And Angela Merkel and these unelected bureaucrats in Brussels, like Juncker, that are so arrogant and so haughty and so narcissistic, they think they can threaten Trump. They think they can use the muscle of the EU, now developing its own military power, to say that Brexit will not happen. This is all a charade. It's a show. It is ridiculous. Referendum after referendum, referendum after referendum. Theresa May talking to the Queen, and the very next day, she orders a special election, which then her party gets diminished in power, and she's supposed to be the Conservative Party, supposed to defend Brexit. Isn't it funny how she sabotaged her own party to make it weaker? And isn't it funny that she happens to have been against Brexit? Isn't it funny that she's been pro-Soviet Europe Union? And all of a sudden she sabotaged her own party with a stupid election that has now almost made the Brexit a nil. All it is a talking point now. All it is something that the people are hoping for now. It's not happening. It's referendum after new referendum. Referendum after new referendum. Referendum. That's all that means is stall, 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 stall. Keep the mafia running. Keep the gangs in business. Keep the money stealing. Keep the money flowing to the headquarters in Brussels. Just stall, 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 stall. This is so pathetically ridiculous. The Labour Party has been split on Brexit since the referendum last summer, with the leadership, including Jeremy Corbyn, saying the result should be respected, but other high-level MPs calling for another referendum. Earlier this week, the opposition party was thrown into disarray as the shadow Chancellor John McDonnell contradicted Mr. Corbyn over the single market, claiming Labour only wanted the benefits of the single market and hinting they could back continued membership. Shadow Brexit Secretary Sir Keir Starmer has also appeared to soften the Labour position, telling senior business figures that it was vital to obtain the benefits of the single market and the customs union, and how we achieve this is secondary to the outcome. There's Corbyn. Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott has said Labour is not taking any options from Brexit off the table. Mr. Khan's remarks to the paper come after Chancellor Philip Hammond said a post-Brexit transitional arrangement could last for 3 years after the UK's planned withdrawal in March 2019. Mr. Hammond said many things will look similar on the first day after leaving the bloc. Sources close to the Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson said he was working closely with the Chancellor to take the UK out of the EU. Mr. Khan's comments will lead to some speculation that the Mayor is looking to keep his options open for a return to Parliament and a bid to be Labour leader. This is an idiot who goes and protects and blames British people after they've been terror bombed, their children have been blown to bits at a stupid Ariana Grande concert, saying, oh, Islamophobia, we are worried that Islamophobia will be on the rise. They're not worried about the people who are blown up. They're not worried about the normal British person that's being stigmatized and being guilt-shamed into political pressure. They're not worried about the people who are just trying to abide by the law. They're not worried about all the people that they're putting at risk, having these jihadis who are on terror watch lists, and they're not deporting these people, spending taxpayer money to, quote, watch and surveil these people when they're not doing anything about it. And these very people on the terror watch list are the ones who are slitting people's throats and right near the London Bridge on mayhem sprees with the freaking cars running over people and blowing themselves up at Ariana Grande concerts. This is ridiculous. After the referendum vote last year, Mr. Khan said, I believe that Britain is better off within the European Union because you're a leftist commie and the people you're defending, the jihadis you're defending, want to create a leftist commie, authoritarian, tyrannical state where Sharia law is honored and protected, which Britain is unofficially doing. Allowing parallel Sharia courts to run and operate in Britain. I mean, that is ridiculous. Allowing Sharia police to walk around the streets harassing women in the UK. This is ridiculous. Britain is now Londonistan. This is ridiculous. You have been taken over by an enemy force. This is a clear and present danger. You're under the hypnosis and spell of the elites and Queen Elizabeth and the bought-off BBC propaganda media. You are slaves to your masters who have already disarmed you and have already disempowered you and who laugh at your face even though you called for Brexit. You are now done. And it's now the Christian people that are starting to rise up and say, hey, like Tommy Robinson, that are saying, hey, we got to stop this. And if this doesn't stop, and if our government is going to keep exploiting us and not protect us, we're going to have to rise up against it. And you see the advent of the Christian forces now starting to rise and say, we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to take our daughters being raped. We're not going to take our daughters being kidnapped anymore. We're not going to take it that they're in running pedophile rings and they're protected by the government. The jihadis are. This is ridiculous, and it's also mainstream news. That's what's so ridiculous about it. People have no memory. They can't remember what happened. They already forgot that dozens were injured and murdered and blown to bits in the UK just a month ago. Probably 3 weeks to a month ago? They can't remember this stuff. Because people have been so dumbed down by entertainment, so dumbed down by celebrity culture, so dumbed down by mainstream media, so dumbed down by TV 3-second marketing that you can't even remember something that happened a month ago. Which is the reason why you can't remember what your enemy, the enemy forces, has done upon you, and you can't remember how they've screwed you over and over and over and over and over again. Because now you're mesmerized by the new trend, and now you're mesmerized by the new commercial, and now you're mesmerized and you forgot about how these people have screwed you for the last freaking eternity. Although we will be outside the EU, it is crucial that we remain part of the single market, leaving the single market of 500 million people with its free trade benefits. What free trade benefits you got? All you got free trade is for the elite stealing your money, calling it free trade. That's all they call it. It's called taxation. It's what they call free trade. Taxation is what they call free trade. You're telling me that free trade is allowing somebody in Brussels to determine the fishing laws in the UK? That's free trade? That's free market? That you're so overregulated out of existence that you can never compete and survive as a small and medium-sized business? That's free trade? You're telling me that you can't, that free trade in Britain is the fact that London, Paris, Germany, Sweden are overrun by jihadis? That you have open borders pouring in? That you have a weakened labor market because now it's porous? Which then does what? Bring down the salaries of your existing labor pool, you dumb idiots. This is ridiculous. Talking about free trade. You talking about free trade to your damn pocket, Sadiq Khan and EU, Juncker and Angela Merkel and these stupid globalists. Free trade to your pocket. Ain't no free trade for the normal man. Ain't no free trade for the man. You talking about free trade? You talking about free trading young girls and kidnapping children for your pedophile cults. I'm talking about free trade. Give me a freaking break. Ain't no free trade happening for small businesses. Ridiculous. He's also led campaigns under the banner London is open and seeks to avoid mass exit of European living in the capital. They're leaving the capital because it's totally open. You understand? The only people that are going to pour in are the jihadis from war-torn areas, which are on terror watch lists, which you don't want in your country. They're the ones going to pour in. And in the end, they're going to get you, Sadiq Khan, because in the end, you are a heretic. Because you're not blowing yourself up even though you're protecting them. He is he's aiding and embedding a terrorist network of jihadis that are allowed to come into your country and to implode it, destabilize it, bomb it, slit people's throats, and get off the hook. Raping women, getting a freaking 1-month probation. What the hell is that? That is outrageous. They're bringing the most backward, medieval, Stone Age crazies that literally out of a comic book from these war-torn areas to wreak havoc on you. And you want to bring this to the U.S.? Hell no! We got guns here, fool! This is ridiculous. The EU, of course, beta testing it in all these stupid progressive lunatic cultist countries like the UK, which is so butthurt and so butt-ridden with political leftists lecturing you from when you're 3 years old, brainwashing and indoctrinating you to worship the state and worship these crazies. and never stand up to them. And now you have people like Tommy Robinson and other people that are saying, hey, we've been warning about this for years, decades. And now they're bringing it point of fight. Now people are not going to take it anymore. They're going to start attacking. But the reason why they're attacking is because for decades, you've done nothing to listen to their grievances. There are women being raped. There are children being kidnapped. There are concerts being blown up by terrorist bombers. Being lectured that they're racist and misogynist when you're bringing in the most racist and misogynist groups from war-torn countries in the world. This is ridiculous. Sadiq Khan, this fake little apologist, this little fat-nosed little troglodyte little demon. What a political prostitute. What a fake. What a pathetic, deceitful, lying, hateful, vengeful, wicked demon. Congratulations, London. You're so progressive. You elected a jihadi protector. Great job. You should be proud of yourselves. You're so progressive and you're so modern. Because now being modern is being raped by jihadis and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. We hate Christians. Yay. You stupid idiots. I'll be right back after this short break. Ridiculous.
Got to kill it. Ain't nothing that gon' stop us. Shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion, roaring like a lion.
God's not dead.
Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 1st, 2017. I'm your host, Hong Shon, the second king of Chaniuguk. And in more European news, Poland's Minister of Justice delivered a scathing response to European Union bureaucrats who are attempting to bully the staunchly anti-migrant country as the battle over refugee resettlement quotas rages on. Zbigniew Ziobro directed his comments at Frans Timmermans, Vice President of the EU Commission, European Commission, who has established himself as one of the EU's most aggressive attack dogs against a growing list of member states who oppose the migrant schemes. We all know from school in history class that the Netherlands has a long experience in colonialism. But bad habits must be stamped out, said Ziobro, correlating Timmermans' Dutch roots to his penchant for imperious interventionism. I'd like to ask Mr. Timmermans to stop speaking with such insolence and arrogance about Poland and to the Poles and to the Polish authorities, because we deserve respect. We expect and demand respect. Polish nationalists and Eurosceptics have taken up the refrain of hands off Poland, and rumblings of #Polexit grow louder by the day. The Polish government is in the midst of procedures to reshape elements of its judicial system, but the EU has threatened to punish the country severely if they follow through, accusing Warsaw of creating a systematic threat to the rule of law in Poland. Yes, Poland wants sovereignty and doesn't want unelected European Union bureaucrats telling them what to do. Well, they're a threat to the rule of law in Poland. These people are ridiculous and possibly, quote, breaching fundamental human rights. Yes. There's the HR word, human rights, yes. Whenever they want to authoritatively bring in authoritarianism, totalitarianism, etc., they just say, well, we're here protecting human rights, even though they are the greatest abusers of human rights. Satan always says the opposite. He calls the Patriot Act the Patriot Act, even though it's an unpatriotic act. He calls the National Defense Authorization Act the authorization of a national defense when it becomes, within it at least, the ability to attack and imprison its own citizens, not for defense, but for destroying due process. I mean, this is ridiculous. They always name it the opposite of what it actually is going to do. And the UN and the EU saying, oh, yes, we're supporting human rights. That's why we're bringing the most backward, most proven to fail communist systems and authoritarian, bureaucratic, unelected systems that are proven to fail and make everybody poor and make the super elites super mega rich. We're going to bring in those systems and you'll all be happy about it, because if you don't, we're going to guilt shame you in your public schools and tell you that you're not being trendy, you're not being modern, and you're being racist and misogynist and bigoted. Love your rapist. Love him, love him, love him. He's a good jihadi. Love him. Be grateful for being inseminated and being fertilized by jihadis. This is the state of Europe now. The reforms are aimed at dismantling a privileged caste of left-wing activist lawyers and judges, obligating Christian values to be considered in Supreme Court rulings. Great idea. And shaking up the entire judiciary by dismissing many sitting judges, while also restructuring how they are appointed. And you see, this is a real war. This is a real war between real Christianity and all these authoritarian, totalitarian classes who have a kinship and are completely allied with Satanism and liberal lunatic cults, which are in the end completely 100% led by and allied with actual Satanists, actual Luciferians. They just think they're rebels and they just think they're cool and trendy, have star tattoos on them with Baphomets carved in their body. They just think that's cute. But you can see the spirit of what they're allying with and why it's a war on Christianity. Why isn't it a war on, why isn't the left against Islam, which generally mutilates does female genital mutilation on young babies, girls, which sells them into sex slavery with child marriage, which allows for sex slaves to be held if you conquer a nation in the name of Islam. Why? How can the left not be against that? That is ridiculous. That's going against every value that they supposedly are protecting, because they're not protecting those values. They're protecting authoritarianism. They're protecting totalitarianism. They're protecting centralized power. They're protecting archangelism. As they pose to be good, they pose to be bearers of light, they pose to be compassionate and caring, when they hate everything about you. They hate your family. They hate your children. They hate anything with honor. They don't want anything with honor to last more than a decade. As they feed off of it, as they destroy it, using centralized power, and then brag and gloat and get off on the fact that they've now destroyed their enemies. It's a war on Christianity. Why? Because Christian values are the only values that allow for actual freedom and sovereignty to occur. For people to stand up against tyrants and the centralized state and the archangels. Christian values is the only set of values that does all of it at once. Promotes tolerance, promotes free will, promotes responsibility for your actions, promotes protection of women and children, promotes men to be patient with the people that they love, promotes the love of Christ, that sacrificial love, creates honorable society. Why is the left allying with the most radical, violent political systems, namely Sharia law, to wage war on Christianity? Why? Because they're of the same spirit, the same demon, the same Satan. Prominent Polish parliamentarian and former Prime Minister Jarosław Kaczynski, a trained lawyer, asserts that Poland's court system is still a stronghold of post-communists. We will swiftly prepare infringement procedures for breach of EU law, also to be launched next week. European Commission Vice President Franz Timmermans has declared in response. See, they want to call everybody who's against the EU, which is communist, they want to call anybody who's against the communist EU as a commie. I mean, there they are as the literal centralized communist EU unelected bureaucrats ruling over you from different nations. I mean, this is the definition of the Soviet Union. This is the definition of a communist union. Okay? They can tax you from a different country, making laws for your country and your locality and your state, forcing you to go into public indoctrination camps, forcing you to send your kids to public schools, forcing you to outlaw homeschooling. Anything other than their state-run worship agenda is prohibited, censored, you name it. Working with Zuckerberg to promote algorithms on Facebook and Google to censor anything that's against the state. Do you not see this is evil? And there they are, the European Communist Union, calling people who don't like them communists. Because they're white and have a Versace suit on, they can't be communists, right? No, communists always have to wear Stalin outfits and Mao Zedong outfits, right? They can't just be wearing a trendy suit with long hair, stylized. There can't be some trendy woman like the head of the the World Bank. They can't be trendy and dress stylishly and be a commie, right? That if they dress trendy enough, they're just a symbol of modernism, and modernism is against communism, even though modernism equals communism in the modern day. No, but anybody that's against them, well, any nation that's against them, they're going to call commie, even though the EU is a commie system. It's all about inverting reality. It's all about blaming you for what they're doing. This is what the devil does. He blames you for what he has done. He blames you for the hell on earth that he's created. Then he makes you so dumb and be part of that system of indoctrination and control and weakening that and so that, and destabilization, that when you are trying to fight for your rights, he then blames you for the very thing that he's created. The devil always wants to condemn you for the things that he's enacted. The leftist lunatics openly going to pedophile island with Jeff Epstein, and then they want to call anybody who's against them a pedophile. Jimmy Savile openly with the BBC collusion and the royal monarchy trafficking children, saying that they're against sex trafficking, saying they're against the trafficking of children, kidnapping of children. Meanwhile, they're doing it. And if you call them on it, they call you a pedophile. You see what I'm saying? When they get caught in their sin, they say, you are the one who is committing that sin. And people have such a brain-dead memory, and people live in a video game virtual reality center now, that if they say it up to you, you'll start believing it. That's how devoid from personal relationship to the Creator they've become. That's how devoid of spiritual nature people have become. That's how devoid of connection to their soul and to the universal Creator God. We become detached from our true identity, and we've adopted these false identities that have been handed to us and given to us and force-fed to us by the state. And you wonder why suicide rates are up, skyrocketing. You wonder why cancer rates are up, skyrocketing. You wonder why brain tumors and AIDS and all these debilitating diseases are skyrocketing. Because you're listening to demons. Of course, many times it's not even your fault because you're a victim that's stuck in these systems that you've been forced into at the hands of European Union officials saying that we're going to kill you if you don't send your children to school. Namely, we'll arrest you. Namely, we'll arrest you, bring your children to child services. We'll break up your family. We'll kill your family. Forced indoctrination camps in Germany. You are not even allowed to homeschool your children. That is illegal. How ridiculous is that? This is the insanity. And this is what they wanted to beta test in Europe and then bring it to the US because US is the true superpower of the world. Not with Trump in office. That's why they hate him. That's why they want to kill him. That's why there's a coup against him to destroy and to get him out of power and to assassinate him. Because he stands in the way of them bringing this total control grid, censorship, authoritarianism, totalitarianism, centralized power, world government, NAFTA, TPP, unfair trade, you name it. He is the one man that is standing up against them. And now other nations in Europe are standing with him and saying, you know what? We agree with Trump. We want to be sovereign from you, European Communist Union. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us. We are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. Tuesday, August 1st, 2017. I am your host, Hyungji Sean Moon, the second king of China. Getting back to this article, Poland has strong allies in Hungary, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia, and likely even the White House, as President Trump recently delivered an earth-shaking speech in Warsaw that put globalists on edge. He said, "You stood in solidarity against oppression, against a lawless secret police, and against a cruel and wicked system that impoverished your cities and your souls, and you won," said Trump. Poland prevailed. Poland will always prevail. A strong Poland is a blessing to the nations of Europe, and they know that. A strong Europe is a blessing to the West and to the world. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has warned that the EU is targeting Poland as a warning to all others who might follow their lead in standing up to the tyrannical superstate. The main target of the Inquisition, the example of national governance to be weakened, destroyed, and broken, is Poland, Orban said. Hungary will use every legal possibility in the EU to be in solidarity with the Poles. And of course, that's increasing. That's now increasing, especially in the Eastern Bloc in Europe. You're talking about gun rights that are coming back. You're talking about closing the borders down, securing the borders. You're talking about rebelling against the EU superstate, communist superstate, saying, crap to you, we don't want you no more. You are in it for yourselves and your politicians and bureaucrats. We don't want you no more. We throw you off. And the states now that are supporting that type of rhetoric, which is part of the Trump revolution, is increasing. The population is surging towards that at breakneck speed as they are being imploded and divided and conquered by George Soros, by open immigration, by illegals pouring over the border, bringing in the most radical Sharia law, jihadi systems on the planet. So ridiculous. Matt Drudge calls out corrupt John McCain. Corruption has so many faces, corruption. There he is. Matt Drudge, media titan and creator of Drudge Report, declared war on Rhino John McCain in a brief but incisive tweet this week after their Arizona senator betrayed his campaign, promised to appeal the Affordable Care Act. Corruption has so many faces, wrote Drudge as a caption above an image of McCain in which he touts himself as leading the fight to stop Obamacare. You mean leading the fight to keep Obamacare? Picture is screenshotted from a promotional advertisement from his 2016 re-election campaign, which was partially predicated on a pledge to his constituents to help kill Obamacare, a promise he broke last week by casting the deciding vote to block the skinny repeal alongside two other rhinos and fully unified Democrats. McCain is fully aware of the damage the law is doing to Arizonans, telling Politico last year, "I think it's a very strong issue. 8 of the counties in my state will now only have one health insurer. They're starting at 65% increases in their premiums. They're very upset." So he pretends to be standing up for his Arizonians constituents. Meanwhile, he just screwed them up the a-hole with his protection of Obamacare. And he keeps the one health insurer in place in all those counties. And he keeps the starting 65% increases in the premiums and up to 300%, which is normal under Obamacare. Because you're allowing the insurance companies to monopolize. And they can charge you whatever the hell they want. And he was bitching about it, saying, "Oh, it's so bad, I'll fight against it. Yes, I'm so good. And this traitor to the Republic, treasonous McCain, comes out and votes to destroy the repeal. What a pathetic, lying, deceitful politician. Pathetic. He's the only one that the Democrats cry about and say, he's such a good man. Why? Because he's in the pocket of George Soros. Why? Because he's on their same team. Why? Because he's openly out to destroy America, pretending that he was a hero in war. In other news, government breaking. Government admits plan to microchip the population. Report by Darren McBreen from Infowars.com. Let's look at that.
Woman in Australia is now a combo of Darth Vader and the Terminator, thanks to some special implants. Here's an x-ray of her hands. Those circles are microchips. They allow her to unlock doors without using a key, kind of like the Force. She can also access her computer without
so
a password.
Cool and trendy. Look, she's so trendy with pink and purple
Problem
hair.
solved.
Wow,
Many
she can
things
just
start off
wave
with
at a
the
door
best of
and it'll
intentions,
open for her.
But sometimes intentions turn. We've survived thousands of years as a species without being microchipped. Is there any
Exactly.
need
You don't
to
want
do it
something
now?
that's emitting
Approximately
electromagnetic
50
pulses in your
employees
freaking
at
body.
3 Square Market, a vending
Don't
machine
you know
technology
cell
company
phone
based in River
cancer
Falls,
rates are
Wisconsin,
up at the
have
ear?
decided to ignore the
What
Book
is
of
it,
Revelation's
7,000%?
eugenics, the existence of the New World Order,
Because
and
you have this
common
electromagnetic
sense to
device sitting on your
gleefully act
ear.
as guinea pigs for the acceptance
shoots
of
and radiates
microchip
your
technology.
face.
CNET proudly reports employees of 3 Square won't have to worry about forgetting their employee ID cards at home
they're
anymore.
so trendy.
Starting next month,
Oh,
a
they're
voluntary
so
program
modern,
will
3
offer
Square
company
Market.
employees the chance to get an RFID chip implanted in their hands.
They had a chip party, play on words, haha, hoo-hoo fun. And everybody gets Dorito chips and you have a cool little football party and you can get there and you can get your little microchip in your hand. It doesn't even hurt and it just takes one injection and there you go. You'll have powers like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and you'll be able to wave your hand and open doors and shut off lights. Wow, you're so powerful. You'll also have the ability to be tracked. You'll also have the ability to have higher rates of cancer. You'll also have the ability to be able to be controlled by electromagnetic impulses. In 1979, Jose Delgado of Yale University was already changing people's behavior using electromagnetic impulses directly to the brain. Isn't it funny? The Bible warns of all this tribulation war, etc. It warns of the time where we'll see the signs in heaven, namely what's happening on September 23rd, with the woman clothed with the sun and moon at her feet, and the 12 stars above her head. That whole cosmic alignment is happening in 9/23, September 23rd. And isn't it funny now that, that the RFID chip, I told you that the mark of the beast has to come around that time. Isn't it funny that RFID chips can also sterilize you? Darren Breen's going to show the article right in a few minutes. When I press play, you'll see it. These chips can now sterilize you. They can now mess with your genetics. And of course, if there's World War III and they require everybody gets sterilized and microchipped, or otherwise they'll put you in prison for being part of the enemy and not being able, what do you have to hide? What do you have to hide, huh? What, you want freedom? You don't want to be surveilled? You don't want the federal government to know and some wacko pervert in the freaking FBI to know where you're at all times? What, you don't want that? What are you? You have something to hide? No, I just have a basic human right for freedom and sovereignty, and I have a basic human right for some wacko to not be able to see where I am. I have a right to stroll freely through the woods and not have some helicopter know where the heck I am. Or some idiot out in a freaking database center of the NSA, National Spying Agency, not Security Agency, Spying Agency, NSA. Give me a break.
Chips will use NFC near-field communication technology to allow employees to unlock doors, make vending machine purchases, log into computers, and access office tools like photocopiers, all with the wave of the hand.
What did the employees say when you brought this idea to them?
Half of them actually within 5 seconds says yes.
What CNET doesn't tell you is that how long before one of the female employees has a chip implanted resulting in a terminated pregnancy, or employees are remotely vaccinated in order to test eugenicist Bill Gates' goals.
But that's...
Or when somebody hates you politically and can retrieve all your information and credit card information from your RFID chip. You see how fast your computers get hacked? You see how fast you get viruses on your simple handheld devices? You see how fast, if you have credit cards, how your credit cards get taken over? You don't think when all your information is stored on there, they can take it over? And that's connected to your keys and your house? You don't think somebody can unlock your house then? Give me a break. You gotta have some control of your life. You gotta have some control over your environment. Otherwise it runs out and it starts controlling you. You gotta be in control. You have to be in the owner's position. Not like Bill Gates and the super state and the spying agency that wants to control you.
The death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion. This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to 0. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average.
Did you hear what he said? You want to get CO2 to 0. Hello, that's going to kill all plant life in this world. You understand? If all plant life dies, there's no more oxygen, Mr. Genius, Super Genius Bill Gates, that speaks with a little nice little voice and a trendy little thing, and he walks around and says, oh, there's a little bit of multiplication. I'm so smart. I want to bring CO2 down to 0. Well, that would only kill off the Amazon jungle. But I thought you loved the environment. I thought you were trying to protect the environment. You want to rid the world of CO2? Are you kidding me? Plants eat CO2 for sustenance, you stupid brain-dead troglodyte. But people are so freaking stupid, they hear this idiot and they're so mesmerized by his little cult following and his little liberal professor saying, oh my gosh, Bill Gates came to our university. That he can say idiotic things like this, like you want to bring CO2 down to 0, and nobody calls him on it. Do they not know basic biology that plants drink CO2 and absorb CO2 as their life source? It's their form of oxygen, basically. And they produce oxygen for us so that we can reciprocate with the natural world and breathe. Oh, but he didn't tell you he didn't want you to breathe no more. He didn't want to tell you that his whole depopulation plan and his sterilization plan is incorporated into the lowering of CO2. Oh, the elite will have enclosed super redoubts where they are able to breathe fresh, clean, beautiful air, and they're able to have organic farming like the Chinese who ban organic farming and who GMO all their products if it's from the state. But all the super elites get to eat clean, non-GMO products. Just like Monsanto, whom Bill Gates himself openly does not eat any of their products. But all the normal useless eaters should be eating horse feed, and they should be eating GMO crop, which causes you to have cancer, and by the 3rd generation has you sterilized. Ridiculous. Saying these stupid, ridiculous things like he wants to bring CO2 to 0, and that's something great. This is ridiculous.
The energy on average for each service and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to 0. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to 0. Now that's back from high school algebra. But
let's get population down to 0. Let's get rid of human beings. Hey, what a great plan by genius billionaire Bill Gates. See, he loves you so much, he just wants to kill you. He loves you so much, he just wants you to never have children. He wants you to disappear from history. He loves you so much, and his dad was chairman of Planned Parenthood. That's how much they love you. They were in the business of killing babies. And you want to listen to this super elitist Bilderberg member who lectures you about humans are bad and that how we have to suffocate them by getting rid of CO2, which will kill all the plants, which will create no oxygen. Meanwhile, they've already moved to different planets and are inseminating other planets. These people are sick.
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Population
The
control.
BBC reports a contraceptive computer chip that can be controlled by remote control has been developed in Massachusetts. The chip is implanted under a woman's skin, releasing a small dose of levonorgestrel, a hormone.
And you say, I'm crazy when we tell you the truth that microchips can sterilize you. because we are informed. And it sounds crazy because reality is that crazy. The super elites are fanatic about controlling things. And they have poured in billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars of your taxpayer money, stolen it by federal funding, to enact and make these technologies so that they can depopulate the world and they can live free in their mind and rule over the earth with just a handful of servants. There you go. BBC reporting it. Remote control contraceptive tip. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, he said that improved healthcare was going to help decrease the
And
population.
vaccines.
And vaccines. That doesn't make sense because improved healthcare means that you have, we normally think of it as prolonging human life, so it would increase the population. So I think what he means by improved healthcare is more abortions.
There you go. Health care, meaning killing babies. The business that his dad was directly.
It follows logically, yeah.
Has been backed by Bill Gates and will be submitted for preclinical testing in the U.S. next year and possibly go on sale by 2018. The same technology could be used to administer other drugs. The innovation comes at a...
Other drugs can be off-site administered to you through the annual maintenance that you'll have to have on your chip. Well, they may have, as part of that maintenance, different sterilizing chemicals that have to be implanted within it. Just like they put fluoride in your water, even though they know that that is a poison and causes dental fluorosis. Do you understand? These people are known liars. They're known harmful agents and enemies against you. These people are known liars, deceivers, control freaks, authoritarians, and you name it. This is ridiculous.
When governments and organizations around the world have agreed to try to bring family planning to around 120 million more women by 2020. USA Today reports the company, 3 Square Market, is partnering with Swedish company Biohacks International, which already has many chipped employees.
That 3 Square Market was the company that was on that video that you showed previously. The one that's chipping their employees now.
There you go.
Wisconsin, follow the lead from socialist replacement migration doormat of the West, Sweden. Just another example of how the left will take itself down simply to prove an inevitable, inhumane globalist failure.
Look how they sell it to you.
The left will...
They have an attractive woman who's smiling. Do you think when you get a shot, is the person smiling like that? They have a model, and they hire supermodels as well to do so. She's got her breasts hanging out, and she's there smiling as she's getting injected with microchip. Ah, I love it! I love it! I love it! Love it! It's like my new best outfit! I love it! It's so cute! It's so wonderful! I love it! I'm so cute and trendy! I love being controlled. I love being tracked. I love being surveilled. I'm so modern. I love pretending that I live in a delusional world where I can be Princess Leia and I can shake my hand and the door opens. I'll trade that fake power where you can just move your lazy ass and open the damn door. You trade that for your own freaking freedom. Now this girl can't drive a car and not be surveilled. What if you got some pervert who falls in love with her and likes her and wants to stalk her? Now he's got some idiot at the NSA stalking this woman. And then they got the keys to your damn house because your keys are on that chip, you dummy. And now some jihadi who's part and works closely with the NSA got the keys to your house, got the light switch, got the security switch, and got your name, credit card, and all that. You telling me you want to give that over to people that you don't even know? You have to be brain dead, lunatic, stupid. Let alone they're putting chemicals in your body through these chips. You just saw the articles reported by the BBC and USA Today. They already have the technology. They will be releasing hormones into your body. You're telling me you want some metal implement that can track you, surveil you, and also manipulate your health? You want that in your body? Are you crazy? This may very well be the thing that if they start unleashing this, saying that people are forced to get it, that you'll get all the little benefits from it. Oh, it will increase your health. It will better your health. This is all I always promise. It will increase your health. It will help you buy and sell better. You'll have superpowers. You just have to sell your entire soul, your sovereignty that God gave you. You have to just let your sovereignty be completely violated by unknown people in dark rooms in black ops offices. Many of them which are just nerd bags who get off on having a CIA tag. Who jack off to child pornography and track innocent women when they want to stalk them because they have the power to do so. Ridiculous.
Take itself down simply to prove an inevitable, inhumane globalist failure. John
She's
Bowne
got such cute
reporting
nails,
for
and she's getting the
Infowars.com.
microwave look, girls. It's so cute, it's so trendy. It's so cute. You should all do it. It's like a smartphone. Nothing different. Other than you can't get out of your body without slitting your wrist off. Other than the fact that you can never turn it off. Other than the fact that it's going to be emitting electromagnetic pulses which give you cancer. And you can never shut the thing off. It will be 24/7 debilitating your body and destroying the cells in your body because God didn't make it to have foreign microchip agents which can send electromagnetic pulses through your body in your body. You're supposed to have control over creation. You're supposed to have control over technology. It's not supposed to be able to control you. This is why it's so important to be self-reliant and not be able to have skills and skill sets that are outside the realm of this stupid little black box that controls your ass. Learn carpentry, learn bushcraft, learn survival, learn how to shoot a gun, learn CMMA, learn jujitsu. You got to be able to do things outside of this stupid box. You got to be able to have skills. That's what it means to be human, to be able to have these incredible gifts that God has given us and to be able to develop them, nurture them and use them to enhance civilization, society, and humanity so that we become closer to God. We resemble Him, not that we become Him and worship ourselves, but that we resemble Him and thank Him for the incredible gifts of grace He's given us. This stupid little machine doesn't give you value. This stupid little microchip doesn't give you special powers. It takes away your powers. Give me a break. Are you saying you don't want to be in control of your health? Are you saying you want a cancer-causing microagent in your body? Are you telling me that you want something like this that will be emitting radioactive radiation into your brain and into your arm? You telling me that you want to be spied on? Are you telling me that you want to be able to be surveilled? You want to be recorded wherever you go by some unknown people in black offices? And some nerdbag pervert with FBI and CIA name tags? And of course they're going to sell it. Oh, this will enhance your health. Oh, this will be so trendy. Oh, all the beautiful people are doing it. Oh, all the celebrities, they'll roll all the celebrities saying, I'm doing it too. I'm so cool. I'm so cute. And it's going to help you open up airports, and you won't even have to bring your passport information, your banking information, everything. Just go deet, 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 like you're waving the hand like the Force. Oh, make you believe that you're in some kind of movie and you're so cool. Which is ridiculous because in Star Wars, they weren't microchipped, and that's why they had that power. They had that power because they were training to have self-control and discipline and martial arts. That's why they had those superpowers, not because some idiot put a microchip in them and then they're being tracked and surveilled by the Empire. That wasn't even the story in Star Wars. And it's not like I'm not even a big Star Wars fan. I never liked Star Wars until they started bringing in the sword fighting from the Chinese martial arts, which I also studied too. Which is more, demonstrative martial arts. They're not really fighting martial arts. Some of the sword stuff you can use to confuse your opponent, but you have to have the sword. Just insane, folks. We're living in crazy times. You gotta be awake. In other insanity, Kellyanne Conway also may be the next communication director. They're clamping down on Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Liberal courts making him guilty of contempt of court. Found guilty of criminal contempt of court. Even though he is one of the biggest patriots who's exposing the whole Obama birth certificate fraud. His whole department was on it. They made public statements to the media, and of course that's why they're being demonized. Because nobody can question the establishment. Russian sixth generation fighter will employ powerful lasers to burn enemy missile seeker heads. Bible study at the White House. Who's inside the spiritual awakening? Bible studies inside the White House. President Trump is now surrounding himself with biblical people. It's amazing. It's amazing. He's feeling the Spirit of God, an awakening that God's Spirit wants to infuse back into humanity to rise up and stand up against evil in these last days. To not take the mark of the beast and to be civilians and owners and inheritors of Chanil Guk, which is coming. Prepare yourself, folks. It is a crazy time to be alive. Thank you for joining us this August 1st, Tuesday, on the King's Report. We will see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp with Tim Elder. I'll see you at the Korean service. But stay awake, be vigilant, and always give glory to God. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp. God bless, Godspeed, and may His kingdom come.
Your love is greater, your love is stronger.